Greetings. My name is Dr. Wadell Brooks Sr., your host, and this is Lake County Community Forum. Today, we're honored to have with us Mrs. Sylvia England, a retired educator in Waukegan, Illinois, among the many other things that she'll tell us about in a few minutes. Good evening, Sylvia.
Hello, how are you, Mr. Brooks?
All right, we're very happy that you've literally taken time from your busy schedule to be with us on Lake County Community Forum to talk with us about a very important topic. And you're going to tell us all about Juneteenth. And Juneteenth is celebrated once a year. And I understand it's a holiday in, I think that's New York. Governor Andrew Cuomo, he signed legislation designated Juneteenth as a paid holiday for state employees beginning this year. So this is very, very important day. But first of all, I want you to tell us a little bit about your personal professional background. I know personally that you're a retired educator, but you've done many other things in Lake County. Just a few of them.
Okay, so we'll just start with when I moved to Waukegan. I taught at Waukegan High School for a couple years.
Oh.
And at that time, if the numbers didn't look right, you had to go get another job. So after a couple years, I decided I would go work at this awesome daycare center in North Chicago. It was the largest daycare center. So definitely I had the credentials to go and work. But Tots and Toddlers Daycare Center definitely shaped the future of what I'm doing today. With my mentors, Mr. and Mrs. Brooks, I was able to gain from all the great and wonderful things that they did. So I worked at a daycare center. And from there, I went back to the high school and I worked a little bit more in the home economics department. And what I realized was that I needed to find out how children learned. So I went back and picked up an elementary education degree. And my favorite year was when I taught second grade. So from there, I left elementary school and went back to the high school to become the dean. And so then I worked with young people and I helped to develop them to get ready to go into college. And then from there, the dean, I was the associate principal. So leaving all of that behind, it was so hard. I retired and I started working on a museum. So presently, I am the founder and executive director of the African American Museum at the England Manor and the chair of the Juneteenth celebration in which we're going to partake in next Saturday.
Well, what is Juneteenth?
Well, Juneteenth is one of the oldest known celebrations commemorating the end of slavery in the United States and is dating back to 1865. And it was on the 19th of June when the Union soldiers led by Major, and I'm just looking at my notes so that I don't misspell or missay the name, but by Major General Gordon Ranger. And they went to Galveston, Texas. And when they went there, they had the news that the war had ended and that the slaves were now free. So you can just imagine what the slaves were thinking, like, maybe they're not telling the truth. And so reluctantly, they said, okay, so this is a great day. And June 19th became like a Jubilee celebration. So from 1865 until today, across the United States, cities and Lake County in particular will be celebrating the Juneteenth, and it's a holiday.
Now, if I remember you stated that Abraham Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation, I guess January 1, 1863. But the word didn't get to Galveston until 1865. Well, what happened?
So the word probably did get there, But officially, they had to fight their way into Texas so that they could tell the slaves that they were free. They weren't allowing them into Texas. Texas was a southern state. They still had slaves, and the army literally had to go in so that they could tell people that they were free and to help the people in Texas understand that the slaves were to be freed.
Wow. So it wasn't like Pharaoh in Egypt. God told Pharaoh, let my people go. But there's a lot of people didn't want to let Pharaoh go.
Right, right. They're like, no, no,
So
we're not.
I guess they have been enslaved so long that they couldn't believe it. But so what happened to get them to change their minds? What kind of
Well,
activity?
they actually had to take the troops into Texas.
Hmm.
And that's how they were able to take the news in. But they weren't letting them come in, just, walk in and tell the slaves they were free because they needed their labor. Right. 2.5 years later, Mr. Brooks, 2.5 years later, they actually, I'm trying to wrap my brain around this, but we were down, the country was shut down for 1.5 years. But can you imagine 1.5 years and then a whole nother year before they actually knew that they were free?
Boy, this is fantastic. Well, now, what is your mission?
So
in Lake County here?
one of the things that we decided here in Lake County was that we needed to galvanize and rejuvenate the culture and work on the economic growth in the African American community. So economic growth, and to kind of rejuvenate the cultural aspect of African Americans. And if I keep, switching between African Americans and Native Blacks, they've been used interchangeably. But we need to get to the point where it's Native Blacks, because we weren't immigrants. We were here. We were brought into this country not as immigrants. So we have to keep that in mind, that we were Native Blacks. So now, anyway.
No, I'm sorry, but when you say Native Blacks, according to the history that I read, Blacks were here, or slaves were here. We call them slaves, but they just Black people were here before the Indians.
They were.
And is that right?
Yes.
And they taught the Indians how to survive.
Yes.
And the Indians are the ones that taught the Europeans how to survive. So I'm glad that you got the record straight, because this is going worldwide. So we want to get the record straight.
We want to straighten the record out here. We are Native Blacks.
All right. Now, you have many activities that will be going on, but tell us about some of them.
So one of the things that we want to do is we want to, first of all, celebrate the diversity of our community by sharing the rich heritage of African Americans.
Okay.
We want to encourage cultural togetherness and cooperative economics. We want to honor those African American ancestors who gave their lives and who survived the inhumane institution of bondage. And we want to rekindle that sense of purpose where we began to make our collective vocation and the building, developing, and sustaining of our community in order to restore our people to their traditional gestures. And with all of that, we are going to be having a Juneteenth Journey this year.
Oh.
Keeping in mind COVID and what was happening in the country as we started to plan this event, we decided that instead of having one huge event in one place and bringing a lot of people to one place, we would have many places across Lake County. So with that, we're going to be, a host site would be Waukegan Public Library, Haynes Museum, King Park, Bowen Park, we're having a vintage car show. The African American Museum at the England Manor, of course.
Okay.
Foss Park, Dandelion Gallery, and we have some places where there won't be people, but there are sites that we're going to show because we want to really accentuate the African American history in Lake County. So with that, we're going to show them Carmen Buckner School so that we can tell them the history of that. Market Street, Frog Island, Trinity AME, Whittier Elementary School, the Barwell Settlement, the Corey House, the 1700 block of North Chicago. They're calling it the new Black Wall Street, and Sign of the Dove. So those are some of the sites that we're going to be talking about. However, if you would like to participate in the Juneteenth celebration, you're going to have to meet us on the corner of Corey and Genesee Street in Waukegan. And I say that because that's where we're going to give you your passport, journey book, and your map. And we're going to map it out so that you go from one place to the next, so that you'll get an opportunity to see all of the places. And we're going to end up at the Fuller Center, which is on Genesee Street in Waukegan.
Right, right.
And there we're going to have some vendors, we're going to have some food, we're going to have a DJ. That's where people will turn in their raffle tickets so that they can be entered into the drawings. We're going to have some awesome prizes, and we just can't wait for everybody to come out and be a part of this journey that we have came up with this year.
Yeah, by having a journey means that in the past, you've been waiting for people to come to you. Like the last year, I think was at Bowen Park, and you had one location, I think was on Utica Street there and years ago. But now you're taking it to the county, outside of the local area.
Yes, and I've also spoken to Zion and one of the other cities, Zion. But anyway, with Zion, next year, we probably will expand this. We'll probably have a bigger, celebration. COVID is going to be gone next year. It can't do anything but get even bigger than it has been. We're excited about it. The committee, we've been working on this for 3 or 4 months, no more than that, about 6 months.
Okay.
And we're really, really excited about all the activities that are going to take place.
Now, when you say committee, this must be a huge committee, right?
Well, it's pretty big. All of the places that I talked about, there's somebody from that site that sits on our community, on our committee. I'm sorry.
Wow, wow. Well, we can't leave out entertainment. Can you give us a little snippet about entertainment that you're going to have? It sounds like that's going to be at Genesee and Genesee.
Well, I'm glad you asked that, Mr. Brooks, because each host site is going to have their own activities.
Oh.
For example, when they go to the Haynes Museum, they're going to have a brand new exhibit just for Juneteenth about the desegregation of Waukegan Public Schools.
Okay.
So, every site has their own. For example, here at the museum, they'll get an opportunity to see the museum, and they'll see it before we even do a huge ribbon cutting. So they'll get to see it first on Juneteenth. The library, they're going to have several activities specifically geared toward children. When we finish at the end, Fuller Center, they're going to have a DJ, that type of thing. But when we talk about entertainment, this year it's low key. We don't have any like names coming in that's going to be doing anything specifically, but at each stop we have lots of activities planned. So
I know last year you had a huge entertainer, and I think that entertainer started out at Tots and Toddlers Daycare Center.
Absolutely, Mr.
Mr. Lee England.
Lee
And
England
he went to, I guess he graduated from Waukegan High School, did he?
graduated from Waukegan High School.
And we'll be talking about that at a later date. But the show, one of his teachers influenced him to play
The violin.
the violin.
Yes.
Now, tell us what has happened to him since he left Waukegan High School.
Oh my
I'm
God.
just throwing this in because he's a international figure now.
He really is international. He left Waukegan High School, went on to pick up 3 degrees at Southern Illinois University.
Wow.
And from there, I think his first debut was on Making His Band with P. Diddy. So he got a chance to work with all of the entertainers that are coming now. So one of them was John P. Key's son. So of course, he met John P. Key. He has met a lot of the artists in the gospel field, but starting off with P. Diddy, leaving P. Diddy, he worked with K. John, who had the #1 song in the country at that time. And meeting and playing with K. John, he met MJ, and MJ put him on Team Jordan, and he was one of 2 of the musicians with Team Jordan. He left, well, he didn't leave Team Jordan because he's still with Team Jordan, but he played at a lot of NBA halftime games.
Oh.
And from there, he went on to move to LA. And of course, in LA, everybody is in LA, so he met everybody. And one of the people that he did meet was Quincy Jones.
Oh.
And so he tells a story. It's like, Mom, when you talk about somebody living at the top of the hill, he said Quincy Jones literally lives at the top of the hill.
Yeah, Quincy was from Detroit, wasn't he?
I'm not sure.
I think he's from Detroit. But anyway, he's in LA now.
He left, he did a lot in LA to move to New York. And from New York, the world has opened up to him. So he's in New York now, and he's working with a lot of different artists. One of the recent things that I heard about was Chris Brown. He's on Chris Brown's latest CD or music, whatever it is now.
Right. I understand.
He worked with Chris Brown, and he did some things with Chris Brown. So now he's working on his own music, and you'll hear that more when he talks directly to you, Mr. Brooks.
So you're making that arrangement for him to
I'm working on it.
be in your seat.
Yes, and we're working on him being part of the NAACP also. So,
boy, it'd be great to have a little young Tyson Towers.
remember, Mr. Brooks, do you remember that time?
Hall of Fame.
Do you remember that time when you put him up on the stage and he played for you? I think he played Amazing Grace. I would love to find that CD.
Oh, man, fantastic. Well, we couldn't end this program without talking about the Underground Railroad. Now, from Galveston, they travel walk by feet all the way to Waukegan has part of that history. And I think your residence is part of that history too, right?
Yes. My house was built in 1859. And after I started thinking about it, I'm like, wow, this was before, the end of slavery. And during that time period, the Underground Railroad was definitely, something that was being used. I mean, not highly publicized, but it was something, and it was not a railroad. Contrary to what the TV is showing now, it was not a railroad.
So you're getting the record straight now.
This is record number 2, Mr. Brooks. Yes. So it wasn't a railroad. They traveled from the south to the north. And contrary to popular beliefs, they didn't travel. The Quakers, they weren't down in the south, bringing them to the north. They had to get to the north. The Quakers were in the north. Abolitionists and other Blacks were in the south, and they helped them get to the north. And certain states in the north, they were free. But, that's a whole nother educational piece. But yes, I realized that my house would have been here during that time period. And as I started looking, I can't say that I uncovered what James Dorsey uncovered, but I can say that it does look like a safe place, a place where they could actually hide slaves if they needed to. And if you remember, there was a time period where even if slaves made it to the North, they weren't free because someone could actually come to the North and get them. So that's why they would be in Illinois and they would be hiding.
Mhm.
So from that, I started off and I said, you know what, this is the Underground Railroad Museum. But as I started putting it together, what happened was I started telling the story of African Americans. So I have 5 rooms here in the museum, one of which is Africa, the Underground Railroad, 40 Acres and a Mule,
Okay.
the Great Migration, and then Contemporary Black America. And I named the rooms that because I wanted to show the bravery and the inspiration that has boomed out of it. So there's a lot of bravery that was shown. And then from that, I get to sit in this chair today and talk to you, Mr. Brooks. So I thank you from the bottom of my heart for giving me this opportunity to talk about some of the things that I'm doing.
Well, we're happy to have you here because I know my ratings will go sky high now.
Absolutely.
Another location is Gurnee, Illinois, the Mother Rudd Home.
Yes.
That
Yes.
slaves stayed there during the day, and at night they left and on their way to Canada.
Yes. And here, when you get to the museum, you will see some of the places that I've visited. I've been to all of the states in the United States, with the exception of 4, and Alaska is one of those 4.
Okay.
So my goal is to make it to those 4 states, but in every state that I went to, I asked the question, tell me about your African-American history.
Okay.
Some of the states had Underground Railroad information, some had African-American history. So you have to come to the museum to find out where I've been.
Well, the next question is funding for all these. Well, I should say the activities, the funding. Is there funding there? How did you?
Definitely opportunities for sponsorship. We're always looking for sponsorship, especially for the museum, because out of the museum comes Juneteenth.
Okay.
So sponsorships are huge. We will have an ad book for those of you that would like for your businesses to get out there. For those of you that would like for your businesses to be shown at the end of our journey at the Fuller Center, there would be an opportunity for you to sell your wares. So, and that's new because with COVID opening up, now we can bring people to one space. And the neat thing this year is we want businesses to get out there, and we're not going to charge them this year.
So that'll be welcomed.
And make their money. That's what we want them to do.
Oh, this is fan. I have to mention this, that great minds discuss ideas, average minds discuss events, small minds discuss things. And ladies and gentlemen, we have with us a great mind because she's discussing ideas, and we really appreciate that. What about the young people? Have you tried to get them involved?
Yes, we have a whole group. That's what the Fuller Center is going to be about. No, I take that back. The entire celebration is about, first of all, our elders and then our young people. All along the way, we're going to have activities for our young people, especially at the library. And the Cole Museum is going to be at the King Park, which is in Waukegan.
Yeah.
Gotta come to Corey and Genesee Street if you want to get the Juneteenth passport.
Where there is no vision, people perish. And thank you for your vision that you you had. You're another Harriet Tubman, but Harriet Tubman was a little different. She had her shotgun there.
And she said, if more people would have known that they were slaves, that she could have helped free more people. So that's my mission. If more people knew about African American history, we could change this world.
Okay. So we call this Freedom Day, Jubilee Day, Liberation Day, Emancipation Day, whatever you want to call it. It's about those who have been enslaved in the United States, and we thank God that we're not enslaved now, and you're keeping that, putting that idea in people's mind that you're not slave now. You can accomplish things.
To the museum, I feel like it sometimes. But you understand, I mean, I watched you and Miss Brooks, and you all worked hard every day. Every day you worked hard. So
Still working hard, even though we're in our 80s, we still working hard, Yeah. No sponsorships. No sponsorships, yeah. Okay, any closing remarks? Oh, by the way, we can't close without stating when is it going to be?
Thank you, Mr. Brooks.
Got to put
the Juneteenth celebration is going to be on June 19th, 2021. It's going to start at the corner of Genesee and Corey at 10 a.m. in the morning. It is going to run to 3 o'clock. So please get here so that you can get started on the journey. Places will be closing down at 3 o'clock so that we can meet at the Fuller Center.
The important thing is that people would I would say sponsors, but the caterers, people can have their shops there and at no charge.
No charge. They just have to go through the proper procedure to be there. There's paperwork that has to be picked up at the health department.
Yeah.
There has to be insurance. There's a lot of different pieces for food vendors that don't sell food every day. So make sure that if you're going to do that, just check with us so that we can give you the right information. So.
Right. Okay. Again, ladies and gentlemen, we've been talking with Mrs. Sylvia England, retired educator in Waukegan, Illinois. And she is a person that you should know because she is trying to make a difference in Lake County and around the country that I'm just finding out myself today. So we salute you and wish you many. If we can do anything we can to, I could thank you. You welcome sponsors, right?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, okay. So we'll see you again on June 19th. It's a Saturday, I'm sure, right?
Yes.
The Saturday, June 19th. And again, the time?
At 10 o'clock, we'll start. Come with your car decorated because we're going to be driving from place to place. Also, I forgot to say this. We're going to have transportation. So if you come early and you don't want to drive, we're going to have buses. So you can get on a bus. We're going to have tour guides on the bus, and they'll tell you all about the Juneteenth journey as we go through.
Fantastic. Again, ladies and gentlemen, this has been Lake County Community Forum. My name is Dr. Wadell Brooks Sr., your host, and we'll see you on June the 19th there's t-shirts available, right?
$10. Yes, Juneteenth celebration. Come get your shirts.
And they could be picked up at, is that Genesee?
Genesee and Corey.
Hey, Corey.
Come early.
Okay. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. And thank you, Sylvia, for an outstanding presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Brooks. Appreciate it.